A 2x anamorphic cine zoom that covers full frame and beyond. That is pretty much unheard of.
LAOWA launched the full-frame siblings of the Proteus Zooms, the SUNLIGHT. There's a wider 40-80 and a 70-135 zoom, giving you the range of a very decent anamorphic prime set. The SUNLIGHT are the first large-format 2x anamorphic zooms that we have seen, and we are not talking about boring rare anamorphic. The SUNLIGHT are front anamorphic, giving you the classic look with oval bokeh and horizontal flares. The lenses are designed to cover full height of the sensor for CinemaScope aspect ratio, but with a little zoom in, the SUNLIGHT are capable of illuminating even full-frame open gate modes, for stabilization, reframing, or for a bold ultra-wide aspect ratio of 3:1.
Being full-frame front anamorphic zooms, the SUNLIGHT are ginormous lenses. Still, if you know anything about cine zooms and anamorphic, they are almost miraculously compact. That's all the reason we need to have a closer look for you.
We took the SUNLIGHT into the studio on an Ursa Cine 12K and made some test shots that will show you how they look under various conditions. Parfocal abilities, display breathing, bokeh, you name it. As a bit of a dare and to find out if that was even possible, we went to our favorite lens test location and shot the SUNLIGHT using street lights, handheld, with the Lumix S1 II, and that was quite a workout. We will share some ideas and tips for rigging these torpedoes to make them usable for single shooters.
X front anamorphic lenses give you the classic anamorphic look with oval bokeh and horizontal flares. To have that in a prime is good. To have that in a zoom is already quite unique, as most anamorphic cine zooms like the Argeneu Optimo only have rare anamorphic. Now LAOWA releases this SUNLIGHT that not only give you the classic 2x front anamorphic look in a zoom, but they also cover full frame sensors for large format anamorphic. In March of this year, LAOWA surprised the filmmaker community with the Proteus Zooms, 2x anamorphic cine zooms, and we tested them thoroughly on this channel.
A great advantage of zoom lenses is that just two lenses can offer all the focal length of a decent anamorphic prime set, making it budget friendly. Beyond that, zooms have the practical advantage that you don't have to swap lenses, allowing them to be used in situations that would be unpractical or even impossible in some shooting situations, like we explored by taking the Proteus Zooms out on the ocean to film with speedboats. Overall, the Proteus Zooms did quite a good job and allow for creative use that your normal spherical lenses just can't give you.
What the Proteus don't do, they don't cover most modern sensors. Arguably, that is not that important, as anamorphic lenses degrade the image optically. That is part of the point of shooting anamorphic. So to record a crop with less pixels doesn't seem like a big deal. On the other hand, we all like to get the best possible quality, and the LAOWA SUNLIGHT cover the full height of modern full-frame sensors, giving you large format anamorphic. To get this, your full-frame camera has to have a shooting mode that allows to record the full height of the sensor. Let's make a quick detour to explain large format anamorphic.
For 2x anamorphic, the classic acquisition format is 35mm with 4 perforations. That is a height of 18.6mm using all available surface of the 35mm negative. A magnetic soundtrack reduced the exposed width, resulting in a de-squeezed 2.55:1. Later, the addition of an optical soundtrack further reduced the aspect ratio to 2.35:1. And in 1971, the standard was updated to 2.39:1. Some modern movies like La La Land use the ultra-wide 2.55:1 aspect ratio to recreate the classic look of early CinemaScope. Most modern anamorphic lenses stick with the coverage to match 35mm for a 2.39:1 aspect ratio.
As you see, the specific aspect ratio is largely born out of technical circumstances, and some anamorphic movies like Blade Runner can even have different aspect ratios depending on the release version. There has been large format anamorphic with a 2x squeeze before, and that is CinemaScope 55. But that has been short-lived. A full frame sensor is significantly higher with 24mm. So if one uses lenses designed for 35mm, one has to either use a crop mode or crop in post. Most anamorphic modes of cameras like the Lumix S camera have anamorphic modes that take that into account.
If you want to shoot large format anamorphic with the Sunlight, you will need a full frame camera that has anamorphic modes using the full height of the sensor, like our Kinefinity Marvel F does. You can also shoot your sensor in open gate modes, resulting in a crazy wide 3:1 aspect ratio that you can crop in post for more common widescreen ratios, use the wider image for reframing, or just leave the extreme width for the love of the look. If you are new to anamorphic, all this can be a bit overwhelming, but don't fear. We have the 3-part scope series about anamorphic lenses giving you deep insights into the process. Link is in the corner and in the description.
With this out of the way, let's take a look at the specs of this Sunlight.
The Sunlight 2x Anamorphic Cine Zooms come as a wide zoom with 40 to 80mm range and a long zoom with 70 to 135mm. If you buy the pair, they come in a nice case. The housing looks very sturdy with a full metal build that is still lightweight. You can choose between 3 different flare options to match the Proteus lineup: blue, amber and neutral silver, and even a clear version that reduces the flaring overall. Like mentioned, the Sunlight are front anamorphic with a stretch factor of 2x, that means expressive oval bokeh. 10 rounded iris blades promise to keep bokeh nice and smooth. The Sunlight are relatively slow with a maximum aperture of t4.5. Focus throw is a very long 305 degrees. Both lenses are parfocal, meaning that they maintain focus while zooming in or out, and they have mitigated breathing. To achieve parfocal performance, the flange has to be spot on. This is why the Sunlight have adjustable back focus. Both lenses have 105mm front diameter and a 95mm filter thread that allow the use of screw-in filters and matte boxes. We see standard 0.8 mod gears for follow focus and motors. Scales are Imperial on the left and metric on the right. Default mount is PL, and there are optional bayonet that you can buy and exchange yourself. Sony E, Canon RF, Nikon Z and L mount. That's right, no Canon EF.
Let's address the elephant in the room. These lenses are big and heavy, around 2.7 kg or 6 pounds. That is almost twice as much as the Proteus Zooms. A lot of that weight is in the front where the heavier lens elements are, and that creates a lot of leverage. And that is exactly why the Sunlight are only t4.5. Imagine how big and heavy t2.8 lenses would have been. You can't use these lenses without decent lens support, especially not when you use small hybrid cameras and PL adapters, just like you see it here. The lens support adds to the weight, making the complete setup heavy indeed, even when your camera weighs next to nothing. LAOWA advertises the Sunlight as compact lenses, making you say, what? But these are really compact comparing them to other anamorphic Cine Zooms. Just not so much comparing them to Cine Primes or Proteus Zooms. We will later discuss what we found out about rigging and shooting these torpedoes handheld. The price? $6,000 per lens or $11,000 for a 2-lens bundle. That price is especially interesting as that's exactly the same price that you pay for the LAOWA Proteus Zooms. More lens for the same money? What's not to like? Unless you just bought the Proteus. Well, you will still have the advantage to be way smaller and half the way. Specs are skin deep, so let's take the Sunlight out for testing.
In our studio test, we want to shine light on the more quantifiable qualities like sharpness, aberration, distortions, flaws, and so on. We are on a Panther dolly with a jib arm, something that is usually dragged around by a crew. But as you see, you can do it as a single shooter, it's just not as smooth. Sorry for that. We put the Sunlight on the Ursa Cine 12K, and of course we shot everything in open gate using every pixel of the glorious 12K sensor, but recording in 8K. YouTube doesn't provide more than 8K anyways. Let's start with sharpness and aberrations. The 40-80 is very sharp and very flat. There are no obvious spherical or chromatic aberrations. Here we are at the widest, so at 40mm, and things stay very much the same when we zoom into 80mm. The image is so detailed that you can count the hairs. This looks almost spherical. When we swap the lens to the 70-135, we start a tad bit wider at 70mm, and the long zoom is just as detailed and clean as the wider zoom. It is rare that you can appreciate high-resolution sensors like this with an anamorphic lens. If that is a plus or if it voids the idea of shooting anamorphic, it's up to you. At 135mm, we remain very clean and sharp. As always, YouTube softens quite a bit, so we uploaded these clips in the original 8K RAW for you to try out yourself. Link is in the description. The Sunlight are designed to cover a normal scope aspect ratio of 2.39:1. Shooting in 3x2 will show how much wider you could go from there, depending on your focal length. Something I would recommend, as you can always use a little more width for reframing, or even go for an extremely wide 3x1 aspect ratio. At 40mm, the 40-80 shows a tiny bit of vignetting even at 2.3.9:1. Zoom in a tiny bit or crop a tiny bit in post. At 55mm and 80mm, you're good to go much wider, even to 3:1 if you're not on a bright backdrop. Our location test will prove that. For the 70-135, we are going to mix it up. The camera is not moving, but we are simply zooming out from 135 to 70mm. As you can see, coverage is even better than with a wide zoom. You could go with 3:1 for most of the range. Like all our anamorphic lenses, the Sunlight exhibit pincushion distortion at the wide end. This is more obvious if you go wider than normal aspect ratios, if the camera moves and geometric forms are in the frame. Naturally, the 40-80 shows the most pincushion distortion at the wide end. The 70-135 does also at 70mm, but more moderate. Both lenses lose the distortion progressively, as you see in the many zoom shots of this review, for example in our parfocal test. The parfocal performance is excellent, and that allows for techniques like crash zooms. Breathing is very controlled throughout the zoom range, and that is true for both zooms. If one pulls focus from mid-range to infinity, it is almost unnoticeable. Only pulling into close focus makes breathing obvious. Our Sunlight demo lenses are the silver flare version, so flares should take the color of the light source. Like with other manufacturers, the silver versions tend to flare only mildly. With the 40-80, the characteristic horizontal flares are absent in most situations. They are there if you're looking for them, and if you find them, they're quite beautiful. The 70-135 flares more distinctively. The flares are multi-layered, soft, and show horizontal shapes without a harsh fishing line character. Our golden tungsten shining into the lens honors the name Sunlight. Close focus tends to be bad on zooms and bad on anamorphic. Double trouble. The Sunlight both have a close focus of 60 cm or 23.6 inches. Not fantastic, but very workable. Any anamorphic shooter worth a water packs diopters anyways. I hope yours are large enough. The close focus shots are the only shots where I noticed aberrations. Let's move on to our bokeh test setup. Bokeh is relatively small due to the slow speed of t4.5. The 2x stretch factor and 10 rounded blades give very nice and smooth ovals that are quite consistent over the field of view. They look very harmonic during movement. The Sunlight don't exhibit one of the things that I really don't like with anamorphic lenses, and that is swimming, meaning an uneven stretch factor and distortions. Everything we exhibited with the 40-80 is just as true with the 70-135. Of course, the bokeh looks slightly more impressive at the longer focal length and when focusing extremely close.
In a studio with a massive penta dolly, a balanced jib and an O'Connor hat, the Sunlight's weight really doesn't matter. So we wanted our second test to be the exact opposite, purely handheld, without any heavy-duty support like an easy rig or even a shoulder mount. Also, in the studio we were able to use as much light as we needed to shoot at a decent t-stop. So our second test would do the opposite and use only available light. And that, contrary to the name of the lenses, at nighttime, using street lights. The Lumix S1 II is our weapon of choice for this experiment. Being a compact and light system on its own, it delivers excellent high ISO performance. We also use the new RE-Log-C update that gives the S1 II Alexa-like colors right out of the box. For this use case, a much better idea than to carry our heavy Alexa around. Let's see what we got.
You've been paying rent here in my head. Tried to fight it off, tried to hold my breath. I keep holding back, trying not to crash right into you. But you look at me like you know something I don't. It's almost like you see where this thing's gonna go. Well, I think you might be right. I'm thinking maybe I'm way past the point of no return. I'm running traffic lights to spend a little time looking into your eyes. Swear I've been aching, I've been waiting for you all my life. This must be what love feels like. You got me.
With our location shot, we made some learnings about using the Sunlight in less than ideal circumstances. And those are significant enough that we decided to make a chapter just about rigging.
The Sunlight have a very long focus throw of 305 degrees, and that is too long for a direct follow focus. We definitely recommend to motorize the focus. If you have a system like the DJI Focus Pro, it can really make your life much easier, as it gives you the ability to do long throws and to keep the talent in focus. Like mentioned before, you will have to use lens support with these, unless you use it like a big telelens directly on a monopod and carry the camera with the lens instead of vice versa. This will not allow you to move the camera freely, so we didn't opt for that. Our goal was to have a rig that can be held with just one hand, freeing the other for operation and additional support, of course. And this is how it looks.
The base of our rig is a tilter base plate with a long Manfrotto plate that allows to balance the rig on the tripod. Our S1 II is in a tilter cage that allows the large display to be mounted securely. Very generally, anamorphic are harder to focus than spherical lenses. I would definitely recommend to go with a 7-inch monitor that allows to zoom in. We attach 50mm rods with a rod to RE rosette adapter and a wooden handle. If we slide the adapter, we can balance the rig for less torque on the holding hand. One rod should be a bit shorter to make space for the LiDAR unit. We add a lens support. We had to try a few because there's literally no space between the rods and the lens. Next we'll attach a focus motor, a rod tornado adapter, the LiDAR unit and the DJI Focus Pro handle. This will also work as an additional point to hold the setup. We use an L2PL adapter to mount the lens and connect the lens with the rod support. As we are not using a V-Log battery to save weight, we have to add batteries to the monitor. Altogether, we have a weight of 6.6 kg. Heavy, but doable.
This setup has proven to be workable in the condition we showed you, even offering autofocus. You can pull autofocus just using your index finger, and on the press of a button, autofocus takes over. Great, as it would have been next to impossible to pull focus and support the weight at the same time. If you're interested in the Focus Pro, we have a whole episode experimented with that. I'll put a link in the corner. If you want to use a tripod, I can recommend this one. It's a YC Onion that I got on the IBC this year, and I really have to say that I love it. Much better than my old Sachtler leg, and the fluid head works better than my Sachtler XL2. Chinese brands have come a long way. This is a YC Onion CB7 Pro head with 9 kilos of payload, so it can take our rig easily, and it's buttery smooth if you dial in the right resistance. You can easily level the head with a built-in leveler, or you can do it with the legs that are the Pineta Peak. Just pull them up or down, lock in, and done. It's very simple. You can even get very, very low by spreading out the legs. Everything is built from carbon and aluminum, making it lightweight as it is sturdy. Very nice. Having used the Sachtler Flowtech, I do prefer this one. Not to mention that at $800, this setup costs less than half of a comparable Sachtler setup. We would have loved to make a direct comparison with the Proteus zoom lenses or with the primes to see how well the footage intercuts. But we had to send those back after our review. And that shows you how important it is to leave your products with us after the review. Just saying. We will also have to send back this Sunlight, unfortunately. Full disclaimer, LAOWA sent us a pair of the Sunlight for this review before the official announcement, free of charge. Therefore, this episode is marked as a paid promotion. This doesn't mean we wouldn't give you our honest opinion. Our goal is to inform you and to show you what gear is capable of. That should be good input to build your own opinion. Still, if you are interested in our 2 cents, here it comes.
With all this experience in the bag, it's time for a verdict. The images we shot in the studio look beautiful, and the S12N Sunlight combo did a great job in low light situations too. Like with all modern anamorphic lenses, the anamorphic look is not too expressive. The Sunlight are very sharp, especially for a 2x stretch. You can easily shoot multi-aspect with them, even wide open. But it's exactly that makes them look very spherical, besides bokeh and flare. That can be a good or a bad thing, depending on what you're after. Wide open means T4.5 with the Sunlight, and that will mean that you never have giant over bokeh unless you focus really close. Flares are very controlled, and you really have to force them, at least with the silver edition that we had. While the 70 to 135 shows horizontal flares, they are mostly absent on the 40 to 80. So if you're looking for flare galore and giant bokeh, you might want to look at faster prime lenses. If you're looking for a clean image with a hint of classic anamorphic character, the Sunlight will give you that. While not ideal for low light, modern cameras save the day, and we didn't find shooting with T4.5 too burdensome, even in relatively difficult light and with higher frame rates. The Sunlight don't fall apart wide open. Whenever swapping lenses on the fly is not an option, the Sunlight zooms fit the needs of an anamorphic shooter, and the vastly reduced gear bag helps a lot when traveling. Not to mention that $11,000 is cheaper than a decent set of anamorphic primes. The build quality looks fine, and the zooms didn't show any obvious flaws during our test, except for maybe the surfaces of the housing. The fine texture scratches very easily, and that leaves visible marks. Of course, that doesn't change anything about IQ or function.
If you could buy only one of these zooms, I wouldn't really know which one to pick. The 70 to 135 is a bit too tight to be an all-rounder, and the 40 to 80 lacks the reach and intimacy you get from a longer focal length. If you get only one of these babies, I suggest to get an additional prime that substitutes the missing wide or long focal length. But then, price-wise, you're quite close to getting the pair, and your primes would probably not even cover full frame. I think the pair is the option that makes the most sense, practically and financially. If you're looking for a 2x anamorphic zoom that covers full frame, the Sunlight are not only your best, but your only choice.
We want to thank the Marmalade for letting us use their studio and their gear. The Ursa 12K, the Phantom Dolly, the O'Connor Fluid Head. There's just no way that a YouTube channel could afford this kind of gear and expertise that you so generally share with us. Thank you to Maximilian Heinemann for being our talent one more time. The camera loves you, and so do we. And thank you LAOWA for letting us test the prototypes of the Sunlight Zooms. We appreciate all the trust and the support that comes with a production like this. If you are in the mood for more adventures in filmmaking, check out our latest epic episode about virtual production. To show you some of the great possibilities of a virtual environment, we set up a mini project, our short film, The King of Cydonia, that will take you to the mountains of Mars. We will also give you insights from a real production for Tencent, where Frankie and Alex entered the gaming worlds of Dune Awakening and Dying Light the Beast. We really had fun with layering the volume with a great stage, fire, heat waves, wind and smoke. Last but not least, we made a little bonus project that shows the lesser known ability of a volume to create objects that pop off the screen and appear to be in the middle of the set.
Of course, and like always, our hearts go out to our members that make complex production like this possible. If you want to support us, you can do so by becoming a member of the media division yourself, or simply by liking this video if you feel like we deserve it. We have a lot of cool stuff in production, so if you don't want to miss out, subscribe if you haven't done that already. If you are a manufacturer and you would like to show your interesting gear, service or tools to a lovely community of professional filmmakers, you will find our email address in the description. This is it for today. My name is Nicholas, signing out with nerdylicious wishes. Shoot something amazing.